Like, I hope they continue with him even next
Oh,
year.
they
Like,
absolutely, yeah, they will. They
if he
absolutely
puts
will.
out, obviously, like,
He's a
If he
top five
puts
pick.
out.
They
Okay, I was about
Wow.
to fucking lose it. I was about to lose my mind, dude. You have no idea.
Sure.
I was about to quit the podcast right now if you had that.
Get ready. Class is about to begin with green white dudes coming at you with some heat. Welcome to School of Hot Takes.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the School of Hot Takes podcast. I am joined by the two best co-hosts on this side of the Mississippi, Mitch and Dylan, and we are coming to you with another awesome episode with some hot takes. So we are going to start off with our hot take of the week. How this works is every week we are going to come to you with our hottest take. Each of us individually are going to pick a take and pick the hottest one each week. This week I am up, so I'm going to go ahead and give you my hot take. And I'm going to phrase this a little bit different, gentlemen. I'm going to give you some stats, and I want you guys to pick the quarterback that has the best stats. Okay, I'm going to introduce it that way.
okay,
All right, are you ready?
go for it.
All right, Dylan doesn't seem that excited, but that's fine. I'll go ahead.
no, I'm ready. I'm good. No, I'm excited
Okay,
about this.
all right.
I am.
Yeah, he sounds very excited. So, all right, quarterback.
No, I was trying to read. I'm sorry, I was reading.
Wow. Okay, quarterback number one. And maybe you guys can see where this is going. If you see where this is going, don't say anything. I like a big reveal.
Okay.
All right, quarterback number one. 184 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 93.1 QBR rating. Okay, that's quarterback number one. Quarterback number two. 93 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 55.7 QBR rating. Quarterback number three. 138 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 47.5 QBR rating. And then finally, we have quarterback number four, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and an 88.3 QBR rating. So let me ask you, fellas, you guys know ball. We all know ball here. What quarterback would you rather have start your team just based off of those 4 stats?
Oh, I don't like because I think I know where you're going with this, but I guess you're gonna say number 4.
I think number 4 so far. Mitch, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely don't think I'd pick 3, but
Okay.
probably number
That's
4
fair.
would be maybe
All
one of the safer
right,
bets.
Okay. Quarterback number 1 was Jaden Daniels. Quarterback number 2 was Caleb Williams. Quarterback number 3 was Bo Nix. And quarterback number 4 was Drake May.
Hey, I mean,
Just a week 1. Their
This is
first
their first
start.
week as a starter in the NFL.
okay,
My hot take is that Drake May is still a top 2 rookie quarterback in this class. I said it in the draft episode. I've been beating the drum that he needs to take over for Brisket or Brissett, whatever his name is.
Brisket.
Whatever.
And now we're calling him
needs to take
Brisket
over.
from now on. Hell yeah.
Jabrisket, whatever, Jacoby. I've been thinking that he needs to take over for Brissett for a while now. I had him ranked over Daniels. It was close, but I had May as the slight number 2 over Daniels. And when you look at their starts, I think Drake May did really well considering it was his first start. He was playing a really good team. When you look at those quarterbacks, those rookie quarterbacks in their first starts, they were playing some really weak defenses. Jaden Daniels played Tampa Bay. Caleb played Tennessee. Bo Nix, I believe, played, give me a second to pull this stat up again, Seattle. So Seattle was probably the best of those 3. But Drake May played the Texans, which is a top 10 defense right now,
Right.
with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Derek Stingley's been balling out, just all around a great defensive head coach. So I think Drake May is looking really, really good. I think those 2 interceptions suck, but obviously Caleb had a couple, or he didn't have any, but Bo Nix had a couple. Jaden Daniels struggled in his first game. So I think not Derek, I think Drake May. Oh my God. I didn't come to play ball today, apparently. Drake May is looking like he is still my number 2 rookie quarterback. Maybe not over Jaden Daniels. Maybe Jaden Daniels over him and Caleb will fall to 3, but I think Drake May still looks really, really good. What do you guys think?
Okay, so I will say he did have a good first showing, and I think he's going to stay for the rest of the season. I mean, unless he just like flounders badly, like we've seen rookie quarterbacks do that before. But I was looking up strength of schedule based on like the first 5 weeks, and it didn't count this past weekend, obviously. But the
Right.
Patriots have the hardest upcoming schedule, like based on how teams have played so far in the season. So I'm nervous to say
Figure
that
it
he's
out.
going to be the second best rookie this year, based on the teams that the Patriots still have to play.
Okay. I don't care. I don't care about his schedule. I think he's better. I don't care about his schedule. Don't talk about schedule. I don't care about
I
that.
mean, they play a bunch of good teams with good defenses, so it's going to be interesting to see if
If we're
he
gonna
like
talk, if we're gonna
dropped
talk
off
about
or
okay, fucking A. If we're gonna
I
talk about schedule, let's talk about how Jaden Daniels' first 4 or 5 games, they had a combined win total of like 4 games last season or last week. Like he played 1-3
right.
Browns, 1-4. Like if we have to take into account that Drake May is going to play some tough defenses, we have to take into account that Jaden Daniels is playing some soft defenses.
Right, but at the end of the season, all that matters is stats and the record. Like they don't account for it at the end of the season who you played. I'm just saying, like looking at it right
I do.
now, I think Drake May is going to struggle against these better defenses, and Jaden Daniels is probably going to have a better stat line and record based on playing a weaker team. But they're not going to look at that at the end of the year. So I'm saying, like, for Drake May to be the second best rookie this year is probably a bit of a stretch based on who they play.
I think statistically you're right, but it doesn't help that he got benched for the first 4 or 5 games
Right.
either. I think he's just going to look the best, in my opinion. And I think if we phrase it like that, maybe it's a little bit easier of a take to swallow.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I think that those first starts for those quarterbacks was not as good as Drake May. Dylan, what do you think?
Uh, I didn't watch that game because I just don't have any. I don't care about the Patriots very much. I just thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a bloodbath, which it did look pretty bad. Unfortunately, that was my upset of the week, and I thought I picked that with Jacoby Brissett, so I guess I should have watched it with Drake May. But a little bit of it, I think, is the score was like so inflated, like they were down by so much. A little bit of that, I think, is they just let Drake May sling it. So that does help your stats a little bit when you're, so far behind. Defenses are going to play a little bit softer. He definitely proved me wrong. I thought he was going to be really bad. I would like to see how he continues to do with the more film, just like any of these rookies. The more film you get on them, the harder this gets. You know what their tendencies are, things like that. But no, on his first start basis, he destroyed every other rookie, and that's definitely impressive. I think a lot of the rookies this week did pretty. Like Jaden Daniels played another Super Bowl contender team with the Ravens and looked really solid. Caleb Williams seems to be figuring it the hell out too. He looked really nice. I mean, albeit the Jags, but so he looked really, really good. So I think actually the rookie of the year race is going to get really spicy here. I think because Drake May is going to have something to say about it now. Caleb Williams is getting better. Jaden Daniels is the front runner now, but we'll see. I think it's going to be a fun race.
I think it is heating up to be one of the more tightly contested rookie of the year races that we've seen in a while. Like usually there's like one, maybe two guys that are fighting for it at the end. But I mean, based on what we've seen, we've got 4 or 5 guys in the race right now, which is pretty exciting.
I think Bo Nix is out, and I don't think Drake May will get in because of the team record, though. Like if they win 3 games, he's going to be out.
Even
he's not going to be in contention.
Even some of the receivers and everything are still
Oh, no,
I
I think all the receivers are out just because the way they're so like we've seen this with the Justin Jefferson thing. That year he should have won it. Brian was on this. He said this a lot. Like he should have most certainly won Rookie of the Year that year, and I don't know who won it. I don't remember which QB it was, but he clearly didn't deserve it over
Mhm.
Justin
I
Jefferson.
believe
There's too much of a bias.
that was the Justin Herbert year, which,
Okay,
Justin Herbert, great
His best year.
quarterback, but his statistically wasn't even that good,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And I think, let the season develop a little bit. I will be really tooting the horn for Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's looked really good. I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of
He had some
really
bad
good.
drop. He played really bad on that Sunday morning game. He had that real bad drop in the end zone.
Yeah. To be completely honest with you, I did not watch that game. I forgot there was a Sunday morning game.
Same.
They
Yes,
always get
I
me.
watched that.
It's always the thing where you wake up and you've got players on your fantasy team going, and you're like, wait, what the hell?
Right.
But so I didn't watch that game, but through the first couple of weeks, Brian Thomas has looked like the best receiver so far. And I'm obviously Marvin Harrison, I think, is going to put it together. Malik Neighbors looks really good. If he didn't get hurt, I feel like he'd be up there for Rookie of the Year candidate. But I think you're right. I think Drake May doesn't really have a chance just because of the statistical stuff, like Mitch said. And then,
Mhm.
like Dylan said, the Patriots are still a team that I think their ceiling is like 4 wins, probably, even with Drake May back there. So it's unfortunate, but I think he's going to be a guy. Just what I've seen in one start and what I've seen in college, I think he's going to be really good.
I will say I hope they don't like give up on him if they have like a 2 or 3 win season. Like I hope they continue with him even next year.
Oh, they
Like
absolutely. Yeah, they will. They
if
absolutely
he puts
will.
out, obviously, like
He's a
If he
top 5
puts
pick.
out.
They literally can't. They have a top 5. Yeah, he's top 5 pick. They won't. Can you name any place that's ever given up on a guy in half a season? No, they don't do that. That's the answer. The answer is no.
True.
They don't. He's got at least 3 years. He's got a 3-year window.
well,
Usually
I don't
that's
know.
what rookies get.
The Browns quarterback turnover rate is pretty high, honestly.
All right. When we start talking about
True.
the Browns turnover rate, that's when we're going to go ahead and move it on to the next segment. All right. So we are about 6 weeks, full disclosure, we are filming this right before the Monday Night Football game. So we're not going to have the full picture, but we're about 6 weeks into the season. And each of us has selected 1 or 2 guys that we want to talk about as a potential MVP candidate through this era so far. So to kind of kick that off, I'm going to go ahead and start with my guy in a minute, as soon as producer Brandon gets it pulled up for us.
Man, I was gonna let you say it, then go to it as you went into it.
Oh,
Trying to
man.
do this all fancy.
He's trying to get fancy. All right, my MVP candidate through 6 weeks is Joshua Patrick Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Let me give you guys the case here. Josh Allen is number one in touchdowns, number 1 in QBR, has no interceptions. Hasn't played yet tonight, so we don't know where he's going to be at. Maybe he's going to have an interception. Maybe he's not going to have a lot of yards. But so far, he is still I want to say 14th or 15th in pass yards, and he's missing a game. All the other players, I accounted for their stats. So I think he's been putting together a really, really amazing season, and he's been doing it with a beat-up defense. They lost their 2 best defensive players in the offseason, Tre'Davious White, and then Milano got hurt, I think, in the preseason. So their defense has been kind of rough. Their receiver room, I hinted at it last week. Their receiver room is god-awful. Mac Hollins was kind of operating as the WR1 last week without Khalil Shakur. Dropped 3 bombs that even Gabe Davis, who I think is kind of bad, would have caught. He was on the team last year and the past couple of years. And so to have no interceptions, to be one of the league leaders in touchdowns, to be the league leader in QBR rating, with the team that he's kind of built around, is really, really impressive. I will also say, and I feel like Mitch is probably going to not agree with me here, my case for MVP is always what player is most valuable to their team, not what player has the best stats. I think You could say CJ Stroud is going to have some really great stats. Sam Darnold is going to have the wins, but there's not a player who's more important to his team right now than Josh Allen.
I don't know. I think you could find some teams where I think you can find some teams where other quarterbacks mean more to their team than Josh Allen does to the Bills right now.
I would like to hear you name two. Without giving away your pick.
Okay. Joe Burrow, I think right now has a better case than Josh Allen. Just
Joe Burrow has
stat-wise
Jamar.
and for quarterback meaning more to their team.
Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but continue.
Correct. But I mean, without that eliteness of a quarterback, like if they had, Derek Carr or something, or God, Deshaun Watson, or
Jake Browning last year. They had Jake Browning.
right, like I think Joe Burrow means way more to that team than Josh Allen does to the Bills at the moment.
And despite that, they're 1-4. But keep going.
Right. Okay. Other example.
I don't think the Bills would win. I don't think the Bills would win a single game ever without Josh Allen. Just to be clear, I do
a little
agree.
bit. I don't know about that.
There's not a chance they would win one. There's not a chance they'd win a game this season without Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I was critical.
Who is their backup?
Mitch Trubisky.
Oh God, they definitely aren't winning a game then. Yeah, he's not. They're not winning a singular game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take too, right? Is that this team is really, really bad. In the offseason, a lot of people were saying that the fall off was going to be real. They're going to miss the playoffs. And yet you look at the AFC East right now, and my money would right now be on the Buffalo Bills to once again win the division. And to win the division with the team that they have is just kind of insane. And Josh Allen has looked really, really good. He's kind of cleaned up some of the issues that people have had with him in the past, taking big hits, throwing interceptions, bad decision making. He's not really had those problems this season so far.
The division's fucking terrible. The Dolphins without Tua are terrible. The Jets are really bad, and the Patriots. I mean, honestly, it is a really bad division. Just like similar to when the Patriots and Tom Brady used to run it. All three of those teams were pretty bad, minus a few good years by the Jets. So like he has that going for him. They're all terrible. They're really bad. The only reason I didn't actually pick Josh Allen is because that game he had the other day where he had 9 completions and it was the third worst game in NFL history of a QB. Mm-hmm. That's terrible. He had a 30% completion rating and he was like 9 for 30. It was the third worst game of all time. Yeah. Like I can't put you at an MVP. If also, like his highs are so high, his lows are insanely low.
So his first 3 games, he also played some of the weakest teams in the league right now, and then he faced the Texans and Ravens and struggled. But
you got to remember again against the Ravens and the Texans that those teams are like the Buffalo Bills are beat up. And obviously, yes, I think the Ravens and the Texans are more complete teams than the Bills right now. And obviously, C.J. Stroud and Lamar Jackson have a very good chance of winning the MVP too, because their team is going to have the wins and they're going to have the stats. But those 2 quarterbacks are not as important to their teams as Josh Allen is to the Bills, is kind of my logic. And Dylan, I will say to your point, I watched most of that Bills game last week with the 9 for 30 completions. I was the one who brought it up last week when I said they needed Devontae Adams. And I was being dead ass serious, man. Like, he was trying. He was putting the ball in places that should have been caught. There were 3 huge plays. Matt Collins had a drop touchdown in the very first half. Had a drop touchdown. Matt Collins had 2 other drops in the second half that would have been big gains that could have changed the changed the game, changed the outcome. And then at the end, obviously they're getting a lot of criticism, and they've gotten a lot of criticism through the last week about their decision to throw the ball 3 times in their own end zone, tied against the Texans. And, I don't think that's on him either, to be honest. I think that was kind of the right
coaching.
I understand what they were going for. Obviously, in hindsight, it was a bad decision. I get what they were going for. They were saying the same thing that I'm saying. Josh Allen is the guy. give him the ball, see what he does. And unfortunately, it didn't work. And maybe that's because Josh Allen was throwing to Matt Collins and fucking some random scrubs. Marquez Valdez Scantling was out there, I'm sure. Like, just throwing to some straight up bums, guys that have gotten picked off of their old teams and didn't have roster spots.
Okay.
I don't know.
So my problem with Josh Allen, adding on to it, is you can't give an MVP award to, like, say the Bills come out of this season, what, 10-7 or something? Like, that's not a good enough record to give a quarterback an MVP, especially if he's not performing well against the better teams. Like,
He's
there's
got the
other
number
quarterbacks
one.
that are going to be playing better against stronger teams and putting up better stats. Like, it's almost inevitable. I don't think Josh Allen is going to be able to do that this year.
He's got the best QBR rating in the league right now.
Right now, it doesn't mean it's going to last.
We're picking it through six. That's what we're doing. We're picking it through six.
Oh my God. Mitch is thinking about 3 years from now.
I'm not thinking 3 years from now. I'm just saying, like, his QBR is probably inflated as well. I mean, playing the worst three teams from the first three games, yeah. Scoring 34, 31, and 47 points, and then two games back to back where you scored 10 and 20 with, what, 30% completion rate in the last game? That's pitiful.
Well, think about how good he had to have played in the first couple of weeks to survive last week and still have number one QBR rating in the league. Dylan, I know you had something that you wanted to say. I'm going to go ahead and toss it to you, and then we'll move on to the next MVP.
I do. I think this is if he continues to play even at the level he showed those 3 games, or even like a little less, this is a great year for him to probably get it, because he's always been in that, like, right behind Pat Mahomes when he got it, or right behind Lamar when he's gotten it. And neither, like, Pat Mahomes has pretty much openly said that he doesn't care anymore. Like, he's just going to play to win. So his stats are never probably going to be that great. And then Lamar is going to be Lamar, but I think the voting will eventually get tired of Lamar's always going to be there. Just his play style, he's always going to be there. I think if Josh Allen can even have a remotely good year, they're probably going to give it to him, because he's always been that guy that's like, oh, we could give it to Josh, but then there's this guy, or we could give it to Pat, but then there's this guy. I think if he plays, like Brian's saying, like a pretty good, like he's been, he doesn't have to be number one in QBR. But the Josh Allen that we've seen at least the first 3 weeks, I think he has a pretty good shot at it, just because of the scenario that he's been put in.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next MVP. Before we do that, if you want more hot takes, remember to like and subscribe. Check out the TikTok, check out the shorts. We're doing some really fun stuff over there. Keep your belly full of those warm, spicy hot takes. All right. Our next MVP.
Yummy.
All right, here we go.
Go ahead and give it to Mitch.
Deshaun Watson, baby. And I want you guys to hear me out, all right? I think he's a dark horse this year and can actually win if he turns the season around. Browns are a little poverty right now.
This is not real. This is not
You're
real.
right. It's not real. It's not. Go on to my next pick here. Derrick Henry.
Okay. I was about to fucking lose it. I was about to lose my mind, dude. You have no idea. I was about to quit the podcast right now if you had that. Fucking A.
Okay, so
I should have let him I wanted him to defend that shit. We should have let him go.
I was really struggling there for a little bit. I was like, okay, how do I spin this? But getting into Derrick Henry here, I think it's a long shot for a running back to win MVP. Now, I think we've all agreed it's pretty much like a quarterback award. But based on how Derrick Henry's played so far, stat-wise, and with the Ravens just being as good as they are, they're probably going to maybe lose one more game, maybe two this season, if that. I mean, they could win out, honestly. They're just that good. But he's putting up really, really good stats comparable to, I think it was 2022 or 2020 or something like that. He had, 2,000 yards, I think, by the end of the season. So if he can keep that up, I mean, he's leading in touchdowns for running backs right now. He has 704 yards after 6 games, which is over 100 yards a game, basically. 125, 15. I don't know, something like that. Not great at math,
Math.
but
The math is not adding up.
anyway, over 100 yards a game basically for 6 games and 700 yards, 8 touchdowns. And he's getting hella touches with the Ravens. I didn't think he, like, with how much Lamar runs, and is such a mobile quarterback, I didn't think Derrick Henry would have as big a role as he is having. And I think based on their schedule right now, and if he can keep that up, I think he'll be in contention. At least, like I said, I don't know if he can actually win it since it is sort of a quarterback award, but he'll definitely be in talks if he can get up to over 2,000 yards and continue with the touchdowns. And, him being on the Ravens just amplifies that even more.
Okay. I'm not as mad as I thought I would be at this take. It is also nice because you're walking back your own take of Derrick Henry
Right.
not being good on the Ravens. So this is like a double nice for myself.
Yep.
I just don't think I don't think you can ever get it just because of who his quarterback is and the stats that his fellow teammate will always also put up. And they're so much like you just said, they're so much more inclined to give it to a quarterback no matter what. I really don't understand why it's like that. I really wish it wasn't, because we've seen years now where the most valuable player probably isn't a quarterback, or at least like like we've talked about Justin Jefferson. He's put up seasons now that are like insane. Derrick Henry's done the same thing where they're putting up just incredible numbers, and we're still just like, we'll give it to a quarterback. So it really undervalues the award. I don't even really like the award anymore just because of that. I think it's kind of ruined some of its value. What do you think, Snook?
Yeah. So what's funny is I also kind of thought about Derrick Henry as an MVP candidate. And ended up not picking him for the reasons that you guys just talked about, where it's like he's a running back, he's a really good running back, and I think the addition of him really changed the Ravens' outlook. Took them from a team that was banging their head against the wall every single playoff season, trying to figure out how can we beat the Chiefs? How can we beat the Chiefs? How can we beat the Chiefs? And they went and added, a beast in Derrick Henry. He's taken that offense from already being, the best running offense in the league to historically the best running offense maybe in history. So I really like Derrick Henry as a candidate. However, he's a running back, so it's not likely. I will say I think that the fact that he's able to do this at 30, almost 31 years old is really awesome and really impressive. And, he just, every time he touches the ball, it could go to the house. He could stiff arm a guy. He's like a walking highlight reel, and I think that is something that is really cool to watch. And maybe we'll see him win something like an Offensive Player of the Year award instead.
I agree. I think that might be more where the season might be heading for him. I won't say I'm hopeful for him to win MVP, but based on his stats so far this year, I mean, if he can keep this up, it might be his best shot, like his best last shot, maybe.
Yeah, he's on that contract for 2 years. I think he's not showing any signs of slowing down. I would say he's that playoff Super Bowl window for the Ravens is open for 2 years.
Right.
I don't think he'll be an MVP candidate next year, not because he's going to slow down, but just because, again, it's really hard for him to, if he's having a historic season this year, it's going to be really hard for him to repeat that and also win MVP as a running back. It's just, things become really difficult for that at that age. But yeah, I actually do like this take, Mitch. That's a really good take. Do we have any other comments before we want to move on to our last MVP?
No, actually, good job, Mitch. I really like the Deshaun Watson pick too, though. So
all right, yeah, okay, great.
All right, MVP.
All right, our next MVP candidate, Dylan. Go ahead and give us your MVP.
Oh, look at him, baby! Shake and bake, shake and bake, baby. Man, I was really back and forth on this because, like I said, I was thinking Josh Allen, but then I thought of that one game he had. I'll save my other guy who I thought for the honorable mentions because I really wanted to pick him too. I don't know if we'll keep that up. So I went with Sir Baker. Now I was a little bit I was back and forth because I wanted to look at their schedule. I like to really I put a lot into who they're playing, and they are in the NFC South, which is not great, but it does look to be okay this year. Notable wins: Washington, albeit it was the first week, they beat a really I think solid Washington team. Then they went and turned right around to beat Detroit, who Detroit looks really good right now, so that's a huge win for them. And they also have a good win against Philadelphia. We have no idea what the Eagles really are, but I still think that's a quality win, just shutting down all of those weapons. So I still think it's a quality win. And Baker balled out in all of those games, so that's really good. And then they also beat New Orleans yesterday, but they're just freaking terrible. Now on to some of Baker's stats. I believe. Let me just make sure before I just straight up lie about this. Oh yeah. His completion percentage, which I'm really impressed with, he's got 70%. I'm pretty sure that's top 5 right now. I think that's really, really good. Like I checked Josh Allen when we were talking about that. He's down to like 60 now. Obviously, his QBR and things like that are still pretty good, but like 70% completion rating is really good because I think he's averaging like 30 attempts. I'm pretty sure, something like that. So I thought that was really impressive. He's got 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, only 5 picks. For Baker, I think that is an immense improvement. We've all seen the Baker that's really bad, the bad side of Baker, where he's throwing, 20 picks and maybe only like 10 touchdowns. He's getting pissed off. He's, flipping off the crowd, things like that. So really, I picked him more so because of the improvement from the Browns, and this is probably just because of the Browns, honestly, the Browns Baker and a little bit of the Panthers Baker, to just reinventing himself. I think his stats right now are really good. Now, it's not always about stats, but I think his team's winning. I think he'll be there in the end because, once again, it's the NFC South, and they're looking like the clear favorite. So I assume they'll be in the playoffs. That's really going to help them. They're probably going to win somewhere between 10 and 11 games, which might not be great, but if he continues these stats, I think the committee loves looking at stats, so I think he's going to be around there, and I think it would just be fun. Like, I didn't really used to like Baker, but I think he would be a fun guy to win it, just like one of those random years, just like, oh yeah, Baker, you remember that one year Baker won an MVP?
Right.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I always root for Baker Mayfield. I think he's looked really good as well. He's definitely shocked me, his tenure with the Bucs. I did not expect him to play this well. So, all I got to say is let Baker bake.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
Nice.
get right into it. I mean, I love Baker. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he found like you said, found his setting in Tampa Bay. Like, every interview with him and other players on the team, they're like, yeah, Baker's just out there having fun. Like, he brought a lot of fun to the team and we're just enjoying it. Like, even if he wasn't putting up the crazy stats that he is, I think he's changed the culture there in Tampa Bay, which, for a player to be able to do that and come in and, get the whole team and fan base excited again, especially moving on from Tom Brady, I think it's just beneficial and exciting, like what he can do for an organization.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
I'd like that. I would like him to win it. I think that would make the Browns starting Deshaun Watson even funnier if Baker Mayfield was an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dude, what a wild year. Oh, yeah, you remember that 2024 season when Baker won MVP?
Yeah.
I think that would be so fun.
Man. And I think it's really telling too, to kind of go off of Dylan's point, how Mike Evans, he was between re-signing with the Bucs and signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. What a fucking nightmare that would have been.
Right.
But the reason he stayed with Tampa Bay because he was like, I want to play with Baker Mayfield. He basically told the front office, sign Baker to another contract or I'm going to walk to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think that says a lot. The fact that a Hall of Fame receiver, like we've talked about, Mike Evans, picked Baker Mayfield to be his quarterback over Patrick Mahomes, you could argue. I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So
I just like the way he plays, man. He's fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he plays like he plays a little cocky. I like it though. It's a little swagger.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we should real quick go through some of our honorable mentions. We can kind of start from Dylan. go to Mitch,
Fuck yeah.
and then end at me. We'll go in reverse order. So, Dylan,
Sure.
who's a guy you have at your honorable mention spot?
Shout out to Sam motherfucking Darnold. God, I wanted to pick this guy so bad. I just know he's eventually going to turn into back to like old Sam Darnold, and it's going to make me really sad. I hopefully he doesn't, but I just think he will eventually. But right now, what's got me, I think, the most impressed with the Vikings and Sam Darnold is the teams that they're playing. He's doing really well against. We don't think much about the Giants right now, but their defense is actually pretty solid, and he destroyed them. Then he went and destroyed San Francisco. Not really destroyed, but he beat San Francisco. Then he beat Houston. Then he beat Green Bay. These are all playoff teams, and we're all like, oh, like it's just whatever, it's the team. But like he individually is doing very well in all of those. I think he had 260 against San Francisco, 275 against Green Bay, like 190 against Houston. So like he's still doing his part. He's doing his job. Stats wise, I think his completion percentage is not quite Baker's, but I want to say it's like 63, 64. So I think that's pretty impressive. He's got 11 touchdowns, 4 picks. So for Sam Darnold, that's really good. I don't think it's anything eye popping, but this is another one of those guys where he was known as kind of like that guy that was just kind of shitty. And we were like, oh yeah, like that's just Sam Darnold. And he's really turned it around. He's got a real chance for this team. They've got some obviously crazy weapons. What a fun team it must be to play for. I kind of just want to root for him. So yeah, like he was going to be my honorable mention just because the teams he's played, the stats he's doing. He looked a little regressed in the Jets game, but still ended up pulling it out and not doing quite the old Sam Darnold. Like I'll just throw 20 picks and just say fuck it. So he's impressed me.
Yeah, he definitely won't have the stats. I think the only thing holding him back also is the coaching is too good. I think O'Connell and obviously Flores on the defensive side of the ball. I think a lot of those wins, a lot of him playing well kind of has to be handed over to the coaching staff. But I like Sam Darnold. I think he was done dirty by the teams that's had him in the past. So I'm glad he's able to kind of shine in a new location.
I think Sam Darnold, I don't think he'll win MVP this year, but I think the award he is probably best or most likely to win is maybe Comeback Player of the Year.
They just changed the rules. They just changed the rules. Yeah, they just changed it from it has to be a player coming back from an illness or an injury. It can't be a player who just improved.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, because he was going to be he was the landslide favorite. So they literally sent a memo out saying like you can't vote Sam Darnold.
Well, that's
which
bullshit.
is bullshit, by the way. That's bullshit,
it is.
Yeah. Talk about getting hosed. Like he just got we just talked about getting hosed at all his other spots, and now they're like, you're not getting this award either, buddy. So
right, which is unfortunate because I think the NBA has a most improved, and that's like my favorite award in the NBA is to see okay what player sucked and then all of a sudden became like a really good player. And I think the NFL, that would be an award that any player could get. Lineman could get it. It'd be a really fun award. And I think Sam Darnold would definitely win it this year. It's unfortunate that the NFL doesn't like to do fun things. So that sucks.
Facts. Let's go Mitch.
Mitch, let's hear your honorable mention.
I have a couple that I'm just going to do quick touches on. I think
Deshaun
I just want to throw a wide receiver
Deshaun
out there.
Watson does love quick touches. Am I right? Up top.
Hey, I mean, just to throw a wide receiver out there, I don't think they'll win just based on the team they're on. And I mean, we've touched it before. It's not really like a wide receiver award, but I mean, Jamar Chase has been playing really well this year. Is tied with wide receivers for most touchdowns. I think he's leading in yards after catch and is second in total yards for a receiver. So, I mean, from the first 6 games, he's doing quite well for himself, even being on the Bengals. I mean, I know he's like a star player and everything, but
you better have an out-of-body experience if he's going to win MVP.
No, I know. And I'm just saying, like, I don't think there's a reasonable chance that he's going to, but just to acknowledge his season so far. And then a player I would think it would be fun if they won is Jaden Daniels. First rookie since I think 1941 to also win MVP. I think that would be exciting and quite interesting, to be honest. Um, and then I think the quarterback who has the best chance right now is probably Lamar Jackson. I think just the way he's playing, the team he's on, um, only 2 interceptions, 10 touchdowns. He's having a really great passing and rushing game or season so far. So, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be able to keep that up. And I think he's probably going to be one of the front runners towards the end of the season. If they can just keep the wins up, honestly. So I think Lamar Jackson, I know we didn't say him earlier, but I think he has the best chance so far after 6 games. So,
Regular season god, James Harden.
right.
James Harden, baby. He's back. Regular season god.
Oh man! All right. Yeah, I'll go quick here. Obviously, I was going to give a shout out to Lamar Jackson. I just think he can kind of win it every year if he really wanted to. He's top 10 in every QB stat that matters.
Mhm.
Top 10 in QBR, top 10 in pass yards, top 10 in not throwing interceptions. I don't know. I have a double negative there, but he's tied for 34th in interceptions, only has 2. Had another amazing performance. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Patrick Mahomes in his like field general protect the ball era a little bit, but despite that, he is still putting up some pretty incredible stats because the team around him allows him to do that. So the other guy I kind of wanted to give a shout out to, and this is, we're talking dark horses, right? So my dark horse would be Geno Smith
Oof.
on the Seattle
He's balling
Seahawks.
right now.
Interesting.
Yeah,
balling.
so he is number 1 in pass yards right now. Unfortunately, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions is not a great touchdown interception ratio. His QBR, he's 13th in the league, but he has the best QBR of his career. And again, he's 32, 34, something like that. He's like in his mid 30s. And to have his best QBR of his career this year is something crazy. So I think Geno Smith could potentially win it if he like breaks the single season passing record. He is outplaying the other quarterbacks in his division just in terms of throwing the ball, getting the ball spread around. I think he's kind of outplaying Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy right now, clearly because he's leading the league in passing. Unfortunately, I do think the touchdowns and interceptions is going to kind of kill him. And the fact that the Seahawks are a bad team overall might hurt him as well. But just if Geno Smith can start targeting DK Metcalf down the field, we might actually see something crazy from Geno Smith this year. So he's definitely a dark horse, but I've really liked what I've seen from him so far. Had to give him a shout out. He's also my fantasy quarterback, so I've been watching him closely, which might have something to do with this pick, but I'm not gonna lie. He is.
Yeah, I'd say
he's on the roster.
It's definitely a dark horse pick. I don't know that it's likely, but
That's what
I don't hate
it's
it.
a dark horse, baby.
I don't hate it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't pick Lamar Jackson as a dark horse. So,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
You guys want me to
All
put bets in for them too? Because I put bets in when I originally said about Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and who the fuck was it? Who
Derek
else did I say? Oh yeah, Derek Carr. I put those bets in when we first started. There's still I can cash out the Baker and the Sam Darnold right now for some decent money, and I canceled the Derek Carr one. He's fucking terrible. So
that's probably for the best, if I'm being honest.
Let's go, Spencer Rattler. Let's go,
Spencer
baby.
Rattler.
oh,
I
boy.
should have thrown Spencer Rattler in the week 1 starts for rookie quarterbacks too, because he looked pretty good as well.
Yeah, he looked all right until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it definitely helped that they like designed a special offense just for him. It also makes me kind of think that they were preparing to start him at some point this year if they had a whole offense ready for him. But that's semantics at this point. All right, so those are some MVP candidates. Like Dylan said, you'll put all your money on those guys. You're going to win big. One of them is definitely going to win for sure. Probably my guys, probably not Midge's. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into our locks and upsets, or upsets and locks, tomato, whatever the graphic says, gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get into our week 7 upsets and locks, starting with Mitch.
Mitch, interesting. All right.
Is it?
I think my lock. I'll go upset first. Sorry. I think the Dolphins are going to beat the Colts. I think they're just going to have one of those games from both teams where it's just going to Dolphins are going to play really well and the Colts are just going to have an off game. Like I could see it happening. Neither team's really good at the moment. Although Joe Flacco is playing pretty decent, but I just think it's going to be one of those games where the Dolphins come up and ready to play. And then
Yeah.
my lock for the week, I am going to go with the Steelers over the Jets. I don't have any faith in Aaron Rodgers anymore after his bad performances in the past couple weeks. I thought he might have, turned a season around there after week 2 Thursday night game or something, and then ever since then it's just been downhill. So I think Justin Fields has been playing really well. The Steelers defense is going and doing great things. I don't think the Jets are gonna have any. I think it'll be somewhat of a close game, but I don't think they'll get the win on this one.
Yeah, and those are good picks. I just wanted to mention Anthony Richardson is coming back for the Colts,
Is he?
so
Okay.
that could be
Ugh.
dangerous. It could be good for the Dolphins. It could be bad for the Dolphins. Anthony Richardson's kind of a toss up at this point.
I
All
would
right,
not do that. I would keep Joe Flacco.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, so this is a little bit off the beaten path, and we could potentially cut this if we have to. But did you guys hear that weird conspiracy theory about Michael Pittman?
No,
That
what?
Michael Pittman is potentially like threatening to put himself on IR if Anthony Richardson comes back because
Really?
so he was like they announced that he was going on IR on Wednesday, I believe, and then on Thursday it was like, oh no, all of a sudden Anthony Richardson is ruled out, but also Michael Pittman is not going on IR anymore, and
that
so
would be
people are
funny,
like,
honestly.
the timing of this is really weird. And then Pittman came back this Sunday, played in this Sunday, lost a dude. Like he played like he was his regular self, had a touchdown, played a really good game.
Mhm.
And now they're declaring Anthony Richardson in. So if Michael Pittman goes out on IR sometime in the next 7 days, there could be a controversy brewing there. I just thought that was interesting. I've been seeing this on the Reddit threads. People
That
talk
would be
about
pretty funny if it was true.
I mean,
I don't
Michael
blame him.
Pittman he's in no position to be
Right.
making those kinds of demands. But yeah, I mean, I think Joe Flacco is just more consistent. I think that's what Michael Pittman's looking for. But whatever. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Mitch, for your upsets and locks. Those were
Thank you.
great. Dylan, would you like to share your upsets and locks?
I would absolutely love to. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Before I do that, I just want to shout out because when I was looking to do which games I wanted to do, I wanted to shout out. We have some great fucking games. Week 7, Lions Vikings. That's going to be a great game. Seahawks Falcons. That'll be a fun one. I think Seahawks. I think they get all 3 of their defensive starters back that have been down. Texans Packers. Another great game. The 2 Cinderella stories from last year. That'll be a great game. Who else did I see on here?
Ravens Bucks.
Ravens Bucks. That's gonna be a good one. And Chiefs 49ers. Like this week's gonna be a great week.
Hey.
Very excited for those games.
Don't forget the Bengals and the Browns battle of the shit squads of AFC North.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm actually gonna. That is. Thank you. That's a great segue. Thank you, Mitch. I will do. Well, I'll save that. That'll be my lock probably because fuck the Browns. I'm going to go upset of the week. I've been back and forth on this. I really wanted to pick the Jets over the Steelers, but the Steelers are like, they're my team and I don't want to give a bad juju, but I just really feel like the Steelers are going to fuck that up. I just feel like that's the game they would do. But I'm going to go Bucks over Ravens. I think the Bucks are going to beat the Ravens. That's going to be my upset of the week. I figure I almost have to after I was just freaking, jerking off Baker. So I feel like I have to do that for him. I do think it'll be a good game. It depends what defense shows up for the Ravens. So that's going to kind of decide that game. Bucks defense is hit or miss. So I think it'll be a fun game regardless. Hopefully it's a good, high scoring shootout. Those games are just more fun to watch.
So that will be my upset. Bucks over Ravens, and then my lock of the week will be Cincinnati over Cleveland because fuck the Browns. Honestly, they almost did pull up a win though against the Eagles, and that would have been really funny. We could have had a fun side conversation probably about Sirianni getting fired, but he saved it for another week. So yeah, that's my upset and lock. On to you, Brian.
Thank you. All right, so my upsets and locks. I'm going to go ahead and start with my lock, which I don't know about the Vegas odds here, but it could be also an upset depending on how you look at it. I'm going to go ahead and lock the Minnesota Vikings over the Detroit Lions. My reason for this being is obviously Detroit had a pretty gruesome injury yesterday. Hutchinson's leg kind of did a pretzel looking thing. Unfortunately for him, it was a terrible injury. Obviously, not to make light of it, but like that fucking sucks, dude. Probably a defensive player of the year candidate, if not the defensive player of the year candidate. So I just think Detroit's going to kind of come back a little bit hobbled and wobbled. And meanwhile, you have Minnesota coming off of a bye, freshly rested, 5-0, best pass rush in the league right now, in my opinion. And so I think they're going to kind of come through and just wreck shop at home against Detroit. Detroit's going to kind of be left spinning. So that's my lock of the week. Again, I don't know what Vegas has.
Detroit is a
2-point favorite.
2-point. Yeah, Detroit's a 2-point underdog.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that they're putting some respect on the Vikings at that point, because I think if you just looked at these teams, even though the record is 5-0, I still think most people would pick the Lions. So that's why I said kind of depending on your definition of an upset, you could have it either way. But I think the Vikings do kind of come in and wreck shop there. And then my upset of the week, I have to do it. I'm going to pick the Patriots over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kind of a throwback to the, we like to work in cycles here. Going back to the beginning of this episode, I talked about how Drake May looked really good. I think Drake May is going to be able to kind of put those talents on display in London against a Jaguars team that is just absolutely falling apart at the seams. Their defense is terrible. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me here, but they look like the worst defense in the league. They can't stop the run. They get no pass rush. They're able to get thrown on by anybody who comes over there. I think, obviously, Jacksonville has a huge advantage by staying over there in London, but the team is bad. They're coached bad. Trevor Lawrence looks bad. The defense isn't able to stop anything. So this might be an opportunity for Drake May and the Patriots to kind of show their full potential in London in front of a full crowd there at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So,
okay, but is this actually an upset though? I mean, I have to imagine the Patriots.
It's a race to 2 wins.
Right. So I imagine again that I don't
the Patriots
have the
are a
odds in front of me.
5-point underdog. Patriots are a 5-point underdog.
Okay,
that's a pretty big underdog too. That's not like 2 points, 1.5 point or whatever. Like 5 points is a touchdown. That might as well be 7 points at that point. So that's a pretty big upset if it comes true. I right now think that Drake May is looking good. I think he's got a good defense that he can go against, and obviously they're going to want to kind of show out after having a rough loss last week. So I think Drake May is going to do really good. I think he's going to carry them to their second win, technically. But the first win of his career is going to come in London against the Jaguars. And if I could throw in just a little bonus hot take, I think this is the game that gets Peterson fired as well.
Oh, he might not even get on that plane back to the U.S.
Yeah, he might.
Race to 2 wins. This is a race to 2 wins. The Patriots, Jags both have 1, right? So it's a race to 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that will also kind of solidify the Jags as the worst team in the NFL if they lose this one. I think it'll be really hard for them to kind of overcome a 1-5, 1-6 start, especially with how they're playing. So, and Etienne might be out. Travis Etienne might be out as well. He suffered an injury in the game last week. So, yeah, those are
so
our
take
upsets and locks.
Take the Patriots. Got it. Taking the Patriots now.
At least take them to cover, man. 5 points, I think they
Right.
cover, dude.
Yep, I did. I took them to cover.
All right. All right. Those are our upsets and locks. Again, make sure you put those bets in. Mega money, moolah, mucha moolah. All about the moolah, as Big Sean used to say. And I think that'll also do it for another episode here of the School of Hot Takes podcast from me, Brian, Mitch, and Dylan. Class is dismissed.
See you
ya.
later.